In my endless quest to find the best games for the MetaQuest 3, I have come across some real golden nuggets that I would love to talk about. In my first video since returning to YouTube, I mentioned that the game Contractors ruined all other shooters for me, and at the time, I felt like it was a real statement on how I felt. I'm still fairly new to VR. A lot of games that have been out for years are completely exciting new experiences for me. In that video, I was also recommended a lot of different games, one of them being Breachers, as I did a video on that game too. I played Breachers for a few weeks, loved it, and even met some really awesome friends that now I play a lot of other games with. Breachers was not the only game recommended to me though. Amidst all of the comments in my most popular video, tons of games were mentioned. And don't worry, I've been taking note. However, one of them stood out the most, and I decided it was time to pull the trigger on another game that has just been awesome. This is Vail. Vail is a multiplayer shooter, but to put it into a box would do the game a disservice. Vail is more than just a multiplayer shooter, but an entire multiplayer shooter platform. It has modes spanning many different variants, with more to come. The roadmap is literally on the wall in the game, so these guys aren't even close to being finished. Now, from the jump, I was interested in Vail, not only because people recommended it to me in the comments and my DMs, but it was also quite intriguing because the game is free to play. Well, more like free to try. But there's a catch, and despite feeling like I got pigeonholed into purchasing the full game, it caught me. I caved, and I'm glad I did. It's worth it. In the free-to-play version, you could play around in the Citadel, mining ore in a cooperative PvP/VE mode in the Quarry, where you collect ore and trade it in for cosmetics. I've had terrible luck with this mode. I have to play it a little bit more. I had no idea I was about to get attacked by a swarm of Psyducks, so it's true I was very confused at first. Hopping into this without any sort of tutorial or understanding as to what to do didn't help me much. Apparently, you can mine enough ore to be able to afford the paid version of the game. I did not know about this before purchasing until I read more about the game after a few hours that I played. I didn't plan on testing this theory. If you love yourself, I probably wouldn't recommend it. The other noteworthy mode for free-to-play users consists of small team deathmatch playlists, and honestly, it does give you a really good idea of how the game feels and plays. Ultimately, it's what caused me to drop the cash on what I feel is an addictingly fun multiplayer shooter. Don't blame me if you also buy this game. You guys did this to me by telling me to get it, so here I am. Besides your typical modes such as Team Deathmatch, Free-for-All, Gun Game, Search and Destroy, King of the Hill, and even One in the Chamber, soon Vail will also have a Battle Royale mode, an Extraction mode, and a story campaign. This is a ton of content, with a lot of progression and prestiges to grind out. On the surface, Vail seems pretty bare bones, until you jump in and actually sink your teeth into it. When you start it up for the first time, it isn't long before the gunplay just clicks. To put it as simple as possible, the gunplay is very solid, and probably more so if not on the same level as I feel when I'm playing Contractors. Personally, when I critique gunplay in a VR game, it isn't just about how well a gun controls or fires, but how well I can reload. And reloading in Vail feels very slick. I rarely overshoot the mag or fumble around with it. And some weapons reload differently than others, such as the AK style weapon where you have to slap the old mag out to insert the new one. You can't just grab the magazine to eject it. This adds some depth to the reloading speed for weapons with a little bit more stopping power, and it's also requiring some actual skill. I love this. A lot of VR games have different types of reloading, but I just like how some weapons in Vail must be reloaded a certain way. Artifact, which is Vail's Search and Destroy mode, adds a layer of tactical shooter to an already robust multiplayer shooter. If you get enough of the quick play modes, you can choose to jump into Artifact, which plays much more differently than the fast-paced deathmatch modes. The low time to kill and one-shot headshots really can make these matches tense and incredibly skill-based. Sometimes. I still think for maps like this, Breachers has it beat, but nonetheless, Artifact mode is still really good and worth playing. Personally, I like the gunplay too much to have to sit around and wait for the round to be over. I like to just get right back into the action in the normal deathmatch modes. But, different strokes for different folks. I've spent a lot of time playing Valorant on PC, and Vail is one of the games that remind me of Valorant the most. Valorant's art style is very deliberate, whereas it's easy to identify what is happening around you, identify your enemies with a red hue, and identify abilities, weapons, and equipment being used in your general vicinity. The colors are opaque enough and not too saturated, which is easier on the eyes and makes for a very comfortable experience. Vail uses the same exact design choices, and it's quite obvious where they get the inspiration from. Or maybe I'm just crazy, but it's something I noticed. Not to go too much in on the storefront aspect, but very quickly, I like that you can earn premium currency called Gel just for playing the game and logging in every day. This Gel is used on skins and character cosmetics. A slow burn, but grinding is grinding, right my sweaties? There's much to dive into playing Vail, and as I said in the beginning, we're still anticipating a Battle Royale mode, an Extraction mode, and a story campaign. I'm very much looking forward to these. As some of my subscribers know, I love extraction shooters. I've played a lot of Exfil Zone, Escape from Tarkov, and even now Escape from DayZ, a DayZ mod that plays a lot like an extraction shooter. I enjoy the dynamic gameplay of these games quite a lot. I can only imagine how unique an extraction mode may feel in Vail, but as far as Battle Royale or extraction modes go, I think there needs to be some sort of shielding for the players. Unless you can drop right back into the action as fast as possible, you have to combat the fast time to kill that the game has already got a strong grounding in. You can turn your back on a player and get one tapped in a heartbeat while playing Vail, so it's going to be very interesting to see how this is tackled. I'll be looking forward to trying these modes out in the near future. The only thing that I find myself disliking about Vail is honestly the same gripe I have with a lot of other VR games that I've tried, is that they're full of squeakers. VR does naturally have a young player base, and that's fine. I'd say I've had my mic off about 95% of the time, and it didn't hinder anything. I even switched teams in one of my artifact matches because the team I was on was trolling and non-stop yapping. This doesn't impede my enjoyment by any means, and it shouldn't impede yours either. The mute button is, after all, God's gift to multiplayer online gaming. What about you? Is Vail one of your favorites? I don't always cover every little aspect of these games because I don't look at myself as a reviewer. I like to talk about the games that I love. So again, I very much appreciate all of those in my comment sections who have recommended this game to me. I gotta get my money's worth now and get my grind on. The Discord is live, and I appreciate you guys for joining when you do. As always, I look forward to talking to you guys in the comments. Subscribe if you like what you saw, leave me the appropriate thumb if you liked or disliked, and I'll catch you again in the next video.